and welcome to Friday's English lesson, the last lesson of this week. Well done for getting to the end of it. Well done for keeping on with your work at home. I know that me, Miss Sunman and Mr Russell are really pleased with a lot of the stuff that you've been sending us. So today we are going to be doing some short burst writing. Now I know that last week some of you sent some amazing short burst writing. I was really impressed when I saw some of it. So I'm hoping to be just as impressed today with some fantastic writing. Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to do our short burst writing, but we're going to use all the skills that we've learned this week and see if we can put them into a bit of writing using our model text, the caravan. Okay, so this is where we're going to want to make sure that it's written in the past tense. So we talked about past tense and knowing how to make sure it is in the past. We're going to want to see if we can use some speech in our writing and make sure that we can punctuate it correctly and well. And finally, we want to see if we can use some coordinating conjunctions. So you should have looked at those yesterday. Hopefully you followed on with that BBC bite-sized video about different conjunctions. So let's see if we can put that all into our writing today. So before we get started though, we need to warm up and we need to figure out what we're going to be writing about. So what I thought would be a really good idea is if we used the caravan as a bit of our inspiration. Remember, we need some inspiration. And this is a picture of the caravan under the pylon. So you can see the pylon that will be red and brown, full of rust. And the caravan just down here, covered in those nettles and brambles in that overgrown area. And I want us to look at our model text. We're going to look at the build-up. So I've taken it here where it describes the boys seeing the caravan and getting to it and being really excited. But remember, they don't describe it in really like sort of nice, you know, happy sort of ways. They kind of describe it really messy and awful. And that's what I want to see in your writing. But remember, they like going there as well. So they're happy about going there. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to magpie some words. I'm going to put them in the pack, in this pack here. You might want to write down some words whilst we're going through some of these things in your books on a bit of piece of paper if you've got any somewhere. So I'm going to start off by reading a section of it. So I've got red and brown rust fluttered from its lean body. And I quite like that, rust fluttered. I like that verb there. It's a very interesting one. So I'm going to steal that. And I think I might use that in my writing. It made odd creaking sounds. And I like that bit of description as well. So I think I might going to magpie that. When the wind blew, it was there we found the caravan. It had been empty for years. I quite like that phrase of empty for years. Just because it's an interesting way of putting some words together, isn't it? If you go past, you'll just see a small patch of overgrown land under the pylon, a mess of brambles and nettles that smothered the van. Now, I liked that small patch of overgrown land, and I think we can definitely use overgrown in our writing. And I also like the mess of brambles and nettles because it gives me a really clear picture of what's going on in our description. It was damp inside and the windows were smeared with green grime. I like that green grime and I like that damp. So I like the green grime because it's that alliteration, remember, and that would be really good to put in our writing. And I like describing it as damp. It's not wet, it's not soaking, but it's like this damp feel inside. Moss clung to its wheels. And I like the idea of something hanging on and clinging onto the wheels, even though they're not really clinging. It's just how they're growing on those wheels. But I like that idea that they're sort of clinging onto the wheels. It was a place of dead spiders and dust, but it was our special place. And I think that's going to be an important phrase to use in our writing, the our special place bit. Because even though we're describing it as horrible, messy, damp and smeared with grime, remember the boys really like going to this place, okay? And most days after school, we went straight there just to muck around. So I think that's all the words that I'm going to magpie from that bit of text there. You might want to magpie other pieces of words from there as well. And don't forget that we've got some really good vocabulary from our poems that we did the week before for you to use as well. And I'm thinking I'm going to keep them in my head here so that I can think whilst I'm writing, oh, that would be a really good descriptive phrase, okay? We've got lots of things that we can pull on to do a bit of writing to describe things, okay? So I've got my words there. Now, remember, I'm describing the boys going to the caravan, okay? So they're on their way to the caravan, okay? And what I want to do, I want to make sure that it's in the past tense for one. That I use some speech, which is my second thing, and I use some coordinating conjunctions that we looked at yesterday. So they're things like and, but, so, no, yet, for, because, all of those different conjunctions that are in there. But remember, we don't need to litter our writing and fill it full of things if we don't think that they're needed. So I'm not going to put lots and lots of speech into my writing, and I'm not going to do huge bits of writing either. I'm going to show that I can do some quality pieces of writing by doing a short amount but doing it well, and that's what I want to do. So I've got to imagine what I think might be going on. So they're heading to the caravan, okay? So the first thing they're going to see is the caravan. If I look at this picture, it looks old and it looks weak. So I'm going to start off with the sentence, the weak frame of the caravan was. Now I've used was, so I've got the weak frame of the caravan was because it was past tense. Was something. Now it's underneath the pylon, isn't it? And the pylon, remember, was covered in rust. You can see it, and it was fluttering down. So the caravan is underneath, so it might be covered as well. I might not want to use covered. I could be using smothered. I could use curted. I could use, oh, do you know what? I think I like curted. Curted in, and then I'm going to put red and brown rust, okay? So I'm using a coordinating conjunction there with the and, red and round rust. I could put a full stop there, but I'm not going to finish my sentence there. That is why I've put a comma there. I've got some extra information that I'm going to write. I'm going to write which had in there. I'm going to write which had fluttered, because remember, I quite like the rust fluttering. So I've got the weak frame of the caravan was coated in red and brown rust, which had fluttered. Oh, now if it's fluttering, it's got to come from somewhere. Now, if it's coming, it's going to be coming down from the pylon above. So I've got in there, the weak frame of the caravan was coated in red and brown rust, which had fluttered down from the pylon above. I've put in above there to say that the pylon is up here and it's taller than the caravan, to give you a really clear image of this picture here. I almost want to describe what you can see there. And I've read it back a couple of times just to double check that I'm in the correct tense. So it's all in the past. I've used was right here. I've used coated. I've used an ed on the end for past. I've used fluttered with an ed on the end. Okay, right, let's continue. Now I think what I want is some speech. So after above, I'm going to say quick. I've got my inverted commas around it and my capital letter. Very important. But I'm going to be clever. I'm going to split my speech up. So because I'm going to split my speech up, I'm going to put a comma in it. Remember to split it up. We have our first part and we don't put a full stop there because we don't want it yet. We put a comma to say that we're carrying on. We put our inverted commas around it and we say who's saying it. So who's going to say it? This is Connor. Connor's going to shout quick. So he goes, quick, shouted Connor. And he's going to say something. So remember, it's not very nice and it's a bit miserable around. So I'm going to think he's saying to Mitch to hurry up because he needs to get inside before it rains. Yeah. Get inside before it rains. I've got my inverted commas round there with my capital letter here and a full stop at the end. Okay. because that's the end of my sentence. Now, I'm going to be even cleverer. Didn't sound quite like a word then. I'm going to be smarter. That might be a bit better. I am going to introduce a speaker right after someone has just spoken. Now, I know, because I've been listening to myself, that if I have someone speaking next, I need to go on my next line. So I will not be carrying on after it rains here. I will be going on to the next line and writing what Mitch's response would be. If someone tells you to be quick and hurry up, what do you say? You normally say, I'm coming, I'll get there in a minute. So I'm just going to write that Mitch says, I'm coming. And I'm not going to split this one up, okay? I'm just going to put it all together. You can kind of see that he's saying two sentences. So he's first saying, I'm coming, and I've put an exclamation mark. Then he's saying, I'm coming again, because he's repeating himself. And I've put my inverted commas around them. Yeah? I've remembered my capital letter at the beginning and my exclamation at the end, and everything is inside my speech marks. And I now need to say, who said that? Now, I'm not going to say Mitch because I'm pretending to be Mitch. So I'm going to say, I replied because I'm answering Connor. I could say that said I said, I shouted, I responded. There's lots of different words that you could say instead of said. Okay, so I'm saying that. Now, we've got, let me read it back to make sure that it makes sense, because we should always be reading our work back. So we've got, the weak frame of the caravan was coated in red and brown rust, which had fluttered down from the pylon above. Quick, shouted Connor, get inside before it rains. I'm coming, I replied. Now I think I need to sort of describe why Connor thinks it's going to rain. So I think I'm going to have a fronted adverbial in there, in the distance. Now remember, with my fronted adverbials, I need a comma after my fronted adverbial, okay? Because remember, it's describing the verbs within my sentence, the fronted adverbial, and it's extra. So we use commas to show when things are extra and breaking up our sentences, just so the reader knows when to take a pause, okay? So in the distance, I want to talk about clouds. So I've got the dark grey cloud hung in the sky, okay? So in the distance, the dark grey cloud hung in the sky. Oh, I think I've made a mistake there, and I've noticed it because I'm reading it back. In the distance, the dark grey cloud hung in the sky. Now, would there be just one cloud? No, I don't think there'd be just one cloud. I think there would be more than one. So I need to make sure that I've got an S. Let's see if I can draw an S on here. The dark grey clouds hung in the sky. That's much better. Okay, right. Let me get my pointer back on. So I'm describing why Connor thinks it's going to rain, because there's these dark grey clouds hanging in the sky. Now remember, I've taken that from our poetry we did the other week. Okay, so please don't forget those. I'm going to throw in another fronted adverbial to almost describe about why he thinks it's going to rain. So at any moment, not at that moment, but at any moment, okay? At any moment, and we're talking about the clouds would open, okay? Because remember, when it rains, people sometimes say, don't they, that the clouds have opened up and let all the rain come down. So I'm going to say at any moment, the clouds would open. And when they open, what are they going to do? They're going to release some rain. So I think I need another coordinating conjunction. I think I need an and to add on to say what's going to happen when these clouds open. And rain like bullets. Oh, I like that simile getting in there. Okay. Rain like bullets. Remember, that's come from our poetry the other day as well. Rain like bullets would fill the land. So they're filling all of the area. It's just going to come crashing down. So what I'm trying to say to you there is it looks like it's really, really, really going to rain. Okay. Right. Now let's get back to our land that we're talking about. So we talked about these dark clouds. We want to talk more about the caravan, okay? Because I want to get to the part where they sort of, I need to say that they like this, and that's going to come at the end, remember? So the land had been left to overgrow. Now, do you know what? I don't like that, okay? And I'll tell you why I don't like it. I don't like it because of these two things here. I've got would fill the land, and then I've started with the land again. And I don't like how those two close together. So reading it back now, I'm thinking, that's not probably the best use of words there. So instead of the land had been left to overgrow, I could change the word land. So let's think. If I change the word land, so I'm not going to have land anymore, what could I have instead? I think I could have the word area. Let me see if I can write area. My best handwriting. Oh, trying area. And then that is an E. Sorry, that is an E. And there's an A. Obviously, with a mouse, it's not as good as me writing on the board. Area. It doesn't look like area, does it really? Let me have another go. One more go at trying to write area. Maybe write a bit bigger. Maybe me trying to write too small. As that looks much better. Right, I can't write too small on this screen. So I'm going to change it to area. The area had been left to overgrow. And remember, what was it? It sort of, so I feel like I need to sort of say like a because or so, you know, as a result of, I need to keep adding another coordinated conjunction. So I'm going to, so we had to lunge over a mess of brambles. And I've taken overgrown land and a mess of brambles from my magpie section. Now, it doesn't matter that I've not taken everything from this section here, but it's about choosing what I think is best for my writing, okay? Now, so we had to lunge over a mess of brambles and nettles. I think we need the and nettles to finish it off, okay? Right. Now, I'm going to say, as we approached our special place, I really wanted to try and get that in somewhere, our special place. And I wanted it to come towards the end of our writing. So we're getting to the end of my short bit of writing here. And I want to say, as we approached our special place, I've got a comma in there for our fronted adverbial. Remember, it's about this being extra inside our sentence. If I wrote the basic sentence after it, we wouldn't need that part, but it just gives me a little bit more information of what's going on. Okay, so I want to talk about maybe what I could see, but I don't want to fall into the trap of going we could see, because it just doesn't sound very good. Okay, so I want to say maybe the wheels could be seen. Okay, so instead of saying we could see the wheels, I'm going to say the wheels could be seen. But I want to describe the wheels. Remember what I loved how it was talked about, clung to the wheels. And remember what was clinging to the wheels was that the moss, wasn't it? So I'm thinking that the wheels could be seen, but I'm going to say covered in hairy green moss. So I've got an expanded noun phrase in there because I've gone hairy, comma, green moss to describe my noun, the moss. And I've got another coordinating conjunction here, and. And what else was covered and awful and looked awful? Well, it was the windows, wasn't it? So the windows were smeared with green grime. And I'm going to take that just like it was in the story because I really liked that sentence. And, you know, it's okay to take some things out from our sentences like that. So I think we need to end it on one more sentence because remember, we've been saying how it's been described, and it has been described as a bit of a mess. And I want us to say, do you know what? It was a mess. Because it is a mess in the picture, isn't it? It was a mess. And remember, I'm using the past tense, so I'm using was in that. I'm not is, okay? It was a mess. But I want us to use a coordinating conjunction, but, okay? Because remember, there is a but. Even though it's a mess, doesn't matter, does it? That didn't matter. Okay, now instead of writing because, I'm going to use the word for. You could write because instead of for if you wanted to, but I'm going to use the word for, okay? For it was our mess, okay? It's almost like they're taking ownership of that. That's their place. That is their special place. And yes, it's covered in muck and grime and dirt, but it's their place that they feel safe, even though it's not the most safe place in the world. And they shouldn't really be there. Right? So, I think that will be the end of our short burst writing. So what we've got to do, our last task is to read it through and double check that we're happy with everything. I want us to think about this checklist here. Did we include speech? Are there some coordinated conjunctions? And finally, is it in the past tense? Okay, there's 3 things that we're looking for in our short burst writing. So let's have a little quick read through mine. The weak frame of the caravan was coated in red and brown rust, which had fluttered down from the pylon above. Quick, shouted Connor, get inside before it rains. I'm coming, I replied. In the distance, the dark grey clouds hung in the sky. At any moment, the clouds would open and rain like bullets would fill the land. Oh, I'm going to stop there and think, I've got clouds and clouds. Now, what I could do is actually, I don't want to be repeating lots of things there, so I might take clouds out and I might replace it with any moment they, because I'm already talking about clouds. So you know that the clouds might open. So instead of clouds, I'm going to write they. I'm replacing it with a pronoun there, okay? So let's read that bit again. I'm coming. I replied. In the distance, the dark grey clouds hung in the sky. At any moment, they would open and rain like bullets would fill the land. That sounds much better. The area had been left to overgrow, so we had to lunge over a mess of brambles and nettles. As we approached our special place, the wheels could be seen covered in hairy green moss, and the windows were smeared with green grime. It was a mess, but it didn't matter, for it was our mess. I'm quite happy with that. I noticed that all of it was in past tense. There are 2 pieces of speech, and I'm absolutely fine with that. There doesn't need to be any more. Doesn't need to be amazing conversation. Just a little bit of speech here and there. I think that more importantly was getting in those conjunctions and showing off our fantastic description skills that I know you all have at home. Okay, if you need to watch back any of me modelling through this, then please rewind this and stop it at different parts as I'm speaking. If you need to magpie any of my ideas, that is absolutely fine as well. Make this as much your own as you can do. My writing there is to help you, okay? So if you're struggling to think of a way of changing what I've written, don't change it and use it, okay? Or if you want to write a little bit less, that's absolutely fine. As long as you can show me that you've used some speech in your writing, that it is using conjunctions, and then it's in the past tense, I will be amazed by whatever you write. Okay? I really look forward to seeing this. Thank you for watching another video, and we will catch you next week.